On the 26th of November 1978, guests at the Holiday Inn Hotel in the town of Greece, New York, were woken by the sound of a bell. The sound was distant, resembling a ringing telephone or a doorbell. Although it was disturbing, few guests thought anything of it. Many went back to sleep, not realizing that the quiet, indistinct bell that they heard was, in fact, a fire alarm, and that the building they slept in was, in fact, on fire. The town of Greece in the state of New York is home to around 90,000 people. While it was once a farming town, over time the main industries found in Greece shifted. By the 1970s, it was primarily an industrial town, with many residents working at the nearby Kodak Park, the home of the Kodak Photographic Film Company. It was also somewhat known as a shopping destination, as it had several large malls. The Holiday Inn in Greece was part of the Holiday Inn chain of hotels and resorts. This particular hotel consisted of 2 wings as well as a large bar and dining area. When first constructed in 1963, the hotel had 91 rooms, but in the years since, some of those rooms have been converted into meeting rooms and conferencing facilities. On the weekend of the 26th of November 1978, the hotel was busy, with around 200 guests. 2 separate wedding parties were staying at the hotel, as well as a tour group and some of the guests of a singles night organised by the hotel itself. Other residents were visiting Greece to go shopping and take advantage of Thanksgiving sales. During the day, the bar and dining room were lively, but by 2 a.m. they had fallen silent. Most guests were asleep in their rooms, windows securely closed against a chilly night and a brisk breeze outside. At around 2:30 a.m., a fire began in a storage cupboard underneath the staircase. This cupboard was normally used to hold cleaning supplies, including paper towels. These burned readily, and the fire quickly grew and spread beyond the cupboard. Within minutes, it had engulfed the stairwell and started moving along the corridors of the hotel. The hotel's fire alarm system activated, causing a bell to ring in the middle of each floor. These alarm bells were sufficient to alert the occupants of the rooms they were situated directly outside, but guests in rooms that were further away could just barely hear them. Some woke, but assumed that the ringing was a telephone somewhere in the building. The alarms prompted very few guests to evacuate. The fire spread still further. Hotel employees recognized the alarm bell and rushed from room to room ordering guests to evacuate. In their hurry to alert as many guests as possible, however, they neglected to call the fire brigade. At the time, Greece had not yet joined the 911 system, which would have allowed anyone to reach the fire brigade or police by dialing 911 on any telephone. Hotel staff could, however, have called the local firehouse directly, had they remembered to do so. Within 10 minutes of the fire beginning, 2 off-duty firefighters on separate journeys happened to drive by the hotel. Both of them noticed the smoke and flames and stopped to help. One was able to raise the alarm using a radio in his car, and once this had been done, the 2 men joined the hotel staff in evacuating as many guests as possible. This was rapidly becoming a race against time. The fire was spreading unexpectedly quickly, filling the corridors with smoke and consuming room after room as it worked its way from its central point of origin along both residential wings. Greece Ridge Fire Department were the first to approach the scene, with further support offered by other nearby fire departments including the City of Rochester, North Greece, and Barnard. Over the course of 2 hours, dozens of appliances and more than 100 firefighters attended, working to evacuate guests and get the spread of the fire under control. Many guests were, guided by firefighters and hotel staff, able to leave via normal exits. Some, however, found themselves trapped in their rooms, with smoke making the corridors impassable. As smoke started filtering into their rooms, too, they were forced to scramble out of ground floor windows or jump from windows 1 floor up, many sustaining injuries as they did so. Survivor Mary Atmore later recalled, We had a choice of burning or jumping from the window. We jumped into the parking lot, and I injured my leg. I don't know how I managed to land on my feet." Once out of the burning hotel, they faced another danger. Many had been forced to flee without shoes and in their nightclothes. The temperature outside was around -9°C or 16 Fahrenheit. With the car park flooding with water from the multiple fire hoses, even the uninjured urgently needed somewhere safe and warm to go. A restaurant on the other side of the street opened its doors and accommodated survivors. The injured were taken to hospital by more than 10 ambulances, while the uninjured were eventually bused to emergency accommodation for the night. After 2 hours, the fire was under control, but 10 guests were not accounted for. As firefighters searched the building, it became clear that all 10 had died while trying to escape the fire, in most cases from smoke inhalation. The dead were 81-year-old Rubina Cushionen and her 61-year-old daughter Ruby Cushionen, 42-year-old Joyce Plum, 29-year-old Stephen Gregory Ford, 26-year-old Nancy Garrett, 57-year-old Margaret Duncan, 67-year-old Edward Farley and 62-year-old Loreen Farley, his wife, 30-year-old Pamela Sagriff, and 30-year-old Huguette Sundood. In the aftermath of the disaster, an investigation identified a number of structural issues with the hotel that had increased the severity of the fire. One huge factor in the rapid spread of flames had been a void space in the roof of the building. Interior walls did not extend up into the roof, leaving an open space through which the fire could easily spread. Individual rooms, thus, had not been insulated against smoke and flames as they might be in a modern hotel. The fire alarm system was also inadequate. The single bell on each floor was not loud enough or identifiable enough to serve a high-occupancy building. There were no sprinklers and no emergency lighting system to guide fleeing guests safely to an exit. Further, while the hotel staff had acted bravely, they had neglected to call the fire department. Despite these numerous issues, the hotel met fire codes of the time. No further action was taken against Holiday Inn. The hotel itself was destroyed by the fire, and what little remained was eventually removed from the site. Today, a Red Lobster seafood restaurant stands where the Greece Holiday Inn once did. The investigation, as well as noting structural issues, also identified that the fire had likely been started deliberately. There were signs that an accelerant had been used, and investigators suspected that the fire might have been set by someone with some prior knowledge or experience of fire. Several suspects were identified. Among them was one of the firefighters who had been driving past the Holiday Inn on the night of the fire. Harold Phillips was the off-duty firefighter who had reported the fire using his radio, and was also the firefighter responsible for carrying out the Holiday Inn's annual inspection. During the latest annual inspection, a small number of issues had been identified, including doors that did not close fully and fire extinguishers that were not filled. It was theorized that he had intended to set a small fire in order to push through his recommendations. This, however, remained only conjecture. There was not evidence to support it, and Harold Phillips denied any involvement in starting the fire. He went on to become a local fire chief in Greece. Also identified as a possible suspect was a guest at the hotel. This unnamed man had been involved in 2 previous house fires, which police suspected he had started in order to claim insurance money. He had been staying long-term at the Holiday Inn at the time of the blaze. Again, in this case, there was insufficient evidence to support a prosecution. While the 10 deaths in the 1978 Holiday Inn fire were officially recorded as murders, there has been no further progress towards establishing the murderer or understanding why they started the fire. Fire codes have been updated, and Greece is now connected to the 911 system, but the case remains open and unsolved to this day.